put to go live. Yep. Then go back to.
Oh shoot! No, take me off. I don't want to be seen.
He said, take you off.
Yeah, I don't want to be seen.
He said, move it a little bit to the left.
You
Ladies
gotta
and
move it
gentlemen,
over.
good evening. Welcome. We took over the studio.
More. Yeah.
There we
Yeah,
go. We
there we
right
go.
there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's on.
That's better.
Yeah, I don't need to be on there. Oh.
Ooh,
Real
wee.
right
Ladies
now.
and gentlemen, good
That's how I
evening. Good evening. Welcome to Let's Talk About It. It's the evil genius, Dean Geronimo.
Hey, this is Wonder.
And this is Miss E.
Yeah, make sure you call us in at 646-233-1302. I'm going to start to my right. Hey, Miss E.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm all right. How you?
I'm good. I feel like we haven't. I feel like we haven't met in a while. Maybe it's just I wasn't here, but
I wasn't
feel
here
like I haven't seen you guys in a while.
I've been
So
missing.
It's good to see you. Yeah, me too.
Just for a little
I
bit.
got busy at work, so I'm glad I'm here today. And it's starting to feel like fall, right? Finally.
Not
It's
yesterday.
October.
Yesterday
I'm
was,
just saying today. I'm talking about right now.
I thought I
Feel
woke
like
up in the
fall.
upside down or something.
Yeah.
It was real hot
It
yesterday.
was hot yesterday, but I think we done turned the corner with that. I think summer is
It's
bye
gone.
bye.
It's gone.
Yeah,
It's
she
gone.
going.
Get your thermals out, y'all,
She
because this shit
gone.
about to get real cold
Yeah,
out
she
here.
going. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm glad to be here.
Okay. All right. My man Wonder.
What's going on, man?
It's another day. What's good with you?
I'm here, brother. That's
Like I
it.
said, you rather be
I'm
seen
here.
than viewed, huh?
That's it, man. I'm here.
I
I'm
hear
here.
that.
Everything good with you?
I can't complain. You
Yeah.
know how I say hanging on like an old loose tooth? That's what I do.
Okay.
Every day, all day until I can't get up no more.
All right.
So no complaints here. What we talking about today, man? We got
Well, we got a lot
a
to
couple of
talk
things to
about.
talk
Yeah,
about.
we got a lot to get into, but
I think the first thing we want to talk about is what happened yesterday.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a lot to kind of like unpack right there.
Yeah, we got a
That's
couple
a
of things
lot.
to unpack. And
That's
the
a
first
lot.
thing we want to talk about, I guess, is how people feel about forgiveness. I saw a lot of
Oh, okay.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff that was on there about forgiveness. Some people don't forgive, some people do.
Mm-hmm.
Some people were kind of upset at the reaction of the family members and the coworkers from, I won't say her name. I'm not going to say it, but
The defendant,
that
yeah.
one.
The cop.
she's called that one to me.
Well, yeah, the defendant.
You know,
yeah.
there's no way you can use a castle doctrine and say, you know, I was defending my own life in my house, but you weren't in your house. So we got a problem.
Yeah.
We have a problem. We have an
yeah,
issue. So,
yeah.
you know,
But you know what? I heard, so this is like where we got like a lot to unpack. So what, and I know that the judge allowed that to go through, but I think what I was reading, and I don't know how true this is, but what they were saying is by the judge allowing them to use that as a defense, kind of, if they chose to appeal it, they won't be able to use that again
okay.
as a defense. So I remember I learned this in business law and when I was in school about you know, cases. I know you and you know, Christians, cases and when a case is appealed. A case is appealed not because you don't like the verdict. The case is appealed and you're not supposed to retry it either. The case is appealed because there's new evidence. There's something that was not presented, that some kind of evidence or some kind of circumstance has presented itself that needs to be represented in this case.
Okay.
So you have to have something else. So by allowing them to use that at this point, right? Because as a defense attorney, you're going to use everything
Right,
you can, right?
right.
I'm not mad. Like, that's his job,
That's
all
his
right?
job. He
That's
get paid
his
to
job,
do it.
right? That's his job. They can't use that again. Like, they can't use it for an appeal, you
Okay.
know? So I don't even know if she is going to appeal it. It would be foolish to do that, you know, because you're appealing it on what grounds? You know, you have no grounds for
None.
an appeal right now.
You rolled up in somebody else's
right,
house.
right.
He was eating ice cream, minding his
And
own
you
business.
haven't proved without a shadow of a doubt that
He was a threat
right.
Or
You
it
haven't proved her
justified you
innocent. Right.
doing what you
or-
did. Right.
What is it that the prosecution has to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that what? That the crime was committed? Is it
That's
and the defense
one,
is,
and then the
is
defense
defending
will have to
against that? Right.
prove
Okay.
that it
Right.
didn't happen.
Right.
But
So
it's kinda stuck
there's
'cause it
nothing
did.
like it seems to me that all the facts were presented. There's nothing else to present in this case. As far as facts.
Right.
There's a lot of emotion, attached to the case.
Right.
I think that a lot of people were surprised that one, she was found guilty. I think people
True.
expressed a surprise at
Very
that.
true.
And then, she was sentenced to 10 years, which I thought, I thought at least 10 years. I figured she would get like 10 to 15. I didn't think she was going to get the 20.
Not the big numbers.
The prosecutor had suggested 28. I didn't think that they
Right.
were going to give her 28. I thought like maybe 15 to 20 max. She got 10.
I was surprised
Mm-hmm.
she got. Looking at it when you look at it from an emotional standpoint, some people are like, "Well, 10 years, what is that?" But I said, look at it the other way. How many other people lost their lives at someone else's hand and got away with nothing?
But nothing, yeah.
For her to
right.
get the 10, okay. They said,
mean,
well, she'll
10
be out
years
in
is
5.
10
I said, yeah, but
even
she has
5
to go to
years.
sleep
Yeah,
every night
Yeah, exactly.
knowing that she killed an innocent man.
right.
That's gotta weigh on her heart.
It's going to weigh on her way past those 5 years as well. And I don't want to be her. You want to be her? I
No,
don't want to be her.
no,
you
not
know what
me.
I mean? Yeah, I
Somebody
don't
else
want to
can
be her at all.
She can
right.
be her. Go and get them
Right,
10 years,
exactly.
girl.
Like,
it's
I don't
gonna be
wanna
there
be
waiting
her.
for you.
So, I did think she would get a little bit more than that. Like, we all know that she's not going to do all that time, but nobody does all that time. You know what I'm saying?
That's
So, but I was, as far as the law, the facts, all that, I was satisfied with it. The rest
With
of
that
it is
part, right.
emotional, right? The rest of it is, people's feelings on the I guess in the sentencing phase and the
They
son,
sentenced her
the
quick,
brother.
too.
Yeah, they weren't
They
playing.
like, yo,
yeah,
all right, you're found
had a
guilty.
fi-
Come
yeah,
back tomorrow.
yeah,
In fact,
yeah.
we're going to lunch.
Yeah,
Come back and sentence you real
Yeah,
quick.
exactly. So, as far as the forgiveness part of it, that's a whole nother.
Can
You know
I
what?
weigh
Go
in?
ahead, bro.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna take the emotional part because I think emotion gets a bad rap sometimes,
Right.
and so not making it synonymous that you're not thinking clearly because you're emotional. And quite frankly, most of the emotion to me was exhibited by the judge coming off from the stand and hugging this person who was just convicted. Emotion was exhibited to me by the deputy stroking and brushing this woman's hair. So, when we talk about emotion, I mean,
didn't
first,
the judge
can
hug
I-
the
can I-
family too, though?
I don't
hugged-
know,
Yeah, she did.
but-
She hugged the family too.
okay,
Yeah.
but
She did.
optic wise, and when you read and when you look at the judge herself, and she was backed by, and I guess most judges are, some judges are, but she was backed by the police force, the actual law enforcement. So optic wise, it didn't look good.
But she didn't put the sentence in, though, right?
And it was unprecedented.
Right.
It was unprecedented to see a judge come down and do something like
And
that.
giving her hugs, right?
I've never seen that. I've never seen a
know what?
deputy.
Right.
I've never seen a deputy stroke the hair and brush the hair
I understand that,
of,
right?
of a convicted person.
Right.
Right.
My other piece is 10 years. I'm surprised that I'm surprised that it went to trial. I'm surprised that she was found guilty and she was convicted. I'm not satisfied with the years because I believe one of the people on the panelists who, they were one of the, I think they were part of CNN. I forget which radio station. I mean, which news station. But they were saying that they're not even going to do the full 10 years, even if they don't make parole. I think it's 8 years. And if they get parole, she'll only have to do 5 years. In terms of her sitting in her cell and letting that weigh on her, I don't know I can't read what's in another person's mind.
Right.
But, this is the same woman, when we talk about her conscience getting to her, this was the same woman that not too long after she shot and killed this person, it was her actions that was more or less grotesque than anything else.
Understood.
This is a woman who was sexting. So clearly her mind wasn't necessarily on what she did, and she was having a conversation via text with some racist overtones or undertones. I mean, here you are, you're about to go to court and be tried for shooting and killing a man, and that doesn't worry you enough where you still feel comfortable to joke around and be racist.
Because she didn't think she was going to get hemmed up the way she did.
Yeah, but
You know what I mean?
and
Like,
that's my point.
Free enough.
But she didn't get off. What?
No,
so
she
I
didn't
don't.
get
This
off,
is where
but-
No,
this is where
my
I don't
point
understand
is-
the emotion. She didn't. She was convicted and she still was sentenced to 10
But
years.
what I'm saying, I'm talking about before that
she
even
got
came up. I'm saying that while she waited to go to court,
and she was convicted and was
what I'm
sentenced
saying,
to 10 years.
okay, but
based
what
on
saying,
everything, right?
okay, I'm not arguing
Yeah,
that.
okay,
I'm not
so-
but I don't see how that justifies. What I'm saying is her actions.
Well,
her
it
actions.
justifies
her
it
a-
because
Can I
she
finish
was
my point? Because
convicted.
I let
She
you
was
guys. I let
convicted.
you
Go
guys
ahead.
talk.
Go ahead. This is the emotion that I'm.
It
not
is the
getting.
emotion
Right.
because
I'm not
guess
getting
what?
it.
Guess what?
She
It
was
should be
convicted.
emotional. This is a black man, a good brother.
And she was
A good
convicted.
brother.
Wonder
Yeah.
she didn't walk.
Who's
What is the
saying she
problem?
wasn't? What do you mean?
So
What is the
what?
problem?
What is the problem? I don't
What do you
get
mean?
it.
What is the problem? There are
Okay.
people in
What is
the
jail.
problem?
There are people in jail, damn near doing life sentences for lesser crimes, for
Okay.
weed charges,
Okay.
for drug charges.
Okay.
Are you kidding me?
Okay,
Why are we
and
upset?
and
So
no
we're supposed wait. So we're
Okay.
supposed to be
Okay.
we're supposed to be at peace and fine with that?
You know what?
Really?
I think
Listen, let's stop minimizing stuff like this over emotion. You should be upset.
I'm not
This is
upset at the
upsetting
10 years.
because
I'm not.
you know
I'm
why,
not.
and this is what I
I'm
spoke
not.
of. This is what I spoke of on my page, which I alluded to. It's easy to take this, this approach, this methodical approach of, well, let's lay it all out. No, it worked out the way it did until that stuff rolls up on your doorstep. You can't tell me.
Okay.
So we're supposed to tell the family that you should be fine with that?
Well, here's-
So the family
here's
should be
where-
good with that?
Here's where it gets weird.
A man
though.
in
You
his
look at this-
apartment, a man in his own apartment. I mean, damn, man. We get shot for walking. We get shot for sitting in our car. We get shot for looking at guns at Walmart,
I'm
thinking
not-
about buying
okay.
it. We
Right.
get shot for
So what-
everything.
what would have been appropriate? What would have been
so now,
appropriate?
here you are in your house eating ice cream. You get shot, and a person does less than 10 years. They're going to do less than 10 years. So what I'm saying is, don't ask me what I think is appropriate. Somebody needs to ask the family, well, what are you upset about?
All right, well, this is
10
Well,
years
what-
is
what-
10
This
years
is-
is appropriate, so you should be fine
I
with
didn't
that.
say it
But this
wasn't
is-
appropriate, Wonder. What I'm
But you
saying
keep
is that
saying, well, he got
first of
10
all,
years.
It's like the bar keeps changing. First, you didn't even think she was going to get convicted. She did.
Okay,
right?
but
She
still,
did.
I'm not satisfied with
Then-
that.
Okay, all
The
right.
odd
You're not
part,
satisfied.
though-
So I guess my question is again, taking the emotion out of it.
No,
what
no,
would have been
no,
satisfactory?
no. Okay, well, you can take the emotion out of it. I'm keeping the emotion because
Okay, so
because
what-
here's the
again,
thing.
what would have
My
been
heart goes out to the
satisfactory?
here's the thing. When you ask me that for the sake of arguing or proving your point, think about the family when you ask me that, because really it doesn't matter really what I think.
Well, it does, because
it does
you're-
matter.
you're-
It matters
you're not
more.
satisfied.
It matters more of what how the family feels.
Well, the
so
family-
if the family were here, I wonder if we would take the same cavalier approach of, well, I'm satisfied with that. What did you think they were going to
Well,
get?
here's
Would you
where-
tell the family
But
that?
here's where it's different. and we got a picture of
Okay, I
his
don't think
father
I said
here,
that,
right?
but okay.
And his father, this quote says, "I'd like to become your friend at some point." Was he talking to her?
Yeah.
Okay, so he was talking
Right,
to
so
her.
apparently the family
So
is
then,
the son
when we
said
go
he
to the
didn't even want
other
her,
part,
which is silly,
the
but
brother actually hugged her. They are
Right.
better men than I am because I'm gonna be honest. Like, I understand all of it, but when you look at this, what we have normally seen is individuals such as her getting off without anything. So that's why when we see, okay, some people are mad about the 10, it should have been more, comes out to about 8 years, 6 months, and 10 days on the 85%. But coming from a law enforcement standpoint too, a lot of them feel protected. That's why she didn't have a problem with sexting and everything else, because in her mind, whatever I write, they're gonna back me up.
Yeah.
And then the bottom fell out. So when the bottom fell out, now she's like, oh snap, I'm looking at killing this man, and now they're going, oh Lord, they're gonna make me the example. Where at some point somebody has to be the example. It may start with this, it may increase as those who are doing these things are found out. But that part remains to be seen. You know,
Rest assured.
the gamble in it. You understand what I'm
When
saying?
she goes behind bars,
Oh, she got to go to PC.
when,
Can't be in general population.
that's what I'm saying. She's just
No,
like she was, just like she was
Yeah,
coddled,
right.
just like she was coddled in
Right.
court. She's gonna be coddled in jail. They're gonna try and make this as, because here's the thing: there really is no regret buying through the dominant society and the system which under she works for. There's no true regret
But there's
behind
a-
that.
Oh, okay. Hold up. Let's get you in.
This is Miss Maddie. The only reason
Hey.
I agree with Wonder is because, yes, I do see it as though we're happy to see that somebody's finally paying for what they've done.
Right.
But when I sit back and wonder if it was one of my siblings, I'm not satisfied. So I feel exactly like Dave feel. Like, I'm not satisfied. And even though that father and the brother, you know, and I guess he's a pastor, he has to forgive.
He's got more family
Let
than
me
that.
tell you,
He
as a
better
religion
not.
as someone could be, for me, I couldn't forgive.
Can I speak
It
on
ain't
that
I can't
religion?
forgive you, but to say
And let
no,
me
I don't
say
want to
this.
have
Let me-
time,
Right.
I wouldn't even want to look at her. I just like give her time, whatever she needs, and I just don't want to speak to her. I don't want to do
It ain't that
have
much
anything to
forgiveness
do.
Listen,
in the
as a
world.
minister,
No, I
as a
don't- I'm not- and I'm
minister,
not saying
when it
that
comes
either.
to
Right.
religion, as a minister, when it comes to religion, okay. And here's the thing: I'm not the standard about what I'm about to say, because different religions they dispatch how they go about with the toning in different ways. Which, funny enough, we're in the middle of what we call Days of Awe. This is Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, Days of Awe. This is the Day of Atonement, and what that means is not only do you go to the person and you beg pardon for your offense toward them, but you're actually even supposed to go to people who have offended you and let them know that either you forgive or you reconcile. It's a day of reconciliation. You're supposed to, so even first and foremost, you're supposed to recognize the sin within yourself. You're supposed to take self-inventory, an introspective look. You're supposed to acknowledge your sins. Different Hebrew camps have different ways of doing that. We actually write them down. We you know, they get burned. It's like, and you're not supposed to repeat the same sin. If you're gonna make a mistake, you're not supposed to be a habitual. You're not supposed to make the same mistake over and over again. You're supposed to kind of, you know, cleanse yourself, right? Now, having said that, that's forgive. But see, reconciling doesn't necessarily mean that you're sorry. Reconciling means that you come to an understanding of what may
I
have
was
taken
about to
place.
ask that question.
It does
What
not.
happens if you don't forgive?
It does right. Well, here's the thing: the forgiving piece takes time. It takes time. But let me say this with religion and relating to black people: you can forgive, but that's apples and oranges when it comes to justice being served. I can forgive you for Mother Nature will forgive you. I mean, no. somebody may forgive you for breaking the Hebraic law of doing drugs, but Mother Nature will not. Mother Nature will serve you the justice that you have put on yourself. Sometimes it's apples and oranges. Sometimes the forgiving, you still got to pay. You have to repair what you have broken.
So would that be something similar to, you know, how folks say, let God handle it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is this one of those instances
Well,
where
go ahead.
it's not the justice wasn't what everybody wanted to see?
Mm-hmm.
So is it one of those instances where the Most High will handle it on his time? Remember, he's not on our schedule. He's always on time. However, sometimes it comes later than what we want it to. Is this one of those situations?
Well, here's this is not an official. I'm not speaking for my
I'm
organization.
just asking.
No, I just wanted to put that out there because I know members are looking, and I'm gonna be honest with
Right.
you. I'm gonna keep it funky with you. I'm breaking protocol as well because many feel the way maybe they take the stance of you like, look, just forgive. But here's the issue I have, and this is what I mentioned on my Facebook page. We among ourselves, you know, we have the hardest time getting over petty stuff among each other as a community. There is no other community that is more fractured and splintered than the African American community. When you come to economics, when you come to just certain things, we are at the bottom of the totem pole. This isn't coming from emotion. These are statistical facts. We own less than 1% of import-export. A lot of this has to do because we're so fractured, right? Because we're at odds with politics. We're at odds with church, religion. We're at odds with just living in the same community. We are at odds with, we know that disunity is something that is the Achilles heel of the African-American community. But yet, what I find fascinating is that we can collectively come together and forgive heinous atrocities like this so quickly and have the answers so quickly to forgive.
Now,
But yet, we can't do it among ourselves.
are we supposed to all be together? One thing other communities do well too is they associate with like minds.
Okay.
You got the 1%, they all got the money, so they all associate together. And then you have different subsets of the same race. Sometimes, to me, it sounds like, you know, everybody wants everybody to be together, when we never were that in the first place. Like, we didn't start out being together. We just rode on the same boat to get here. You understand what I'm saying? So when it's almost like trying to put a square peg in a round hole,
Right.
and then some people rise up, and then you get dissension. So you go and you get a new job, and your neighbor who doesn't think like you, but they look like you, and they say, you know what, man, I don't really like that dude, man. He didn't bought him a new car, they be in TVs and all stuff in the house, and you're like, I'm just trying to live a little bit better than I did yesterday. So at what point do we start associating with, you know, like, we'll stick our hand out. Some people will grab it, we'll pull them up, somebody will pull us up. Some people say, no, I'm good right where I am. We got to start leaving some people where they are until they're ready to get to where the rest of us are, because we're trying to
agree.
get to where
I
the
just
I
want
agree
to
with
say,
that.
I want to say
I agree with
something
that.
about the forgiveness, because and this is where I'm talking about emotion. Just because the son, or however you want to describe him, the son, the brother, you know, said what he said about forgiving him, her sentence didn't get overturned because he forgave her, or because anybody
Who said
wants to
that?
forgive her. I feel like people are acting as if, why you forgiving him? Like, she still got to do the time. Well,
Yeah.
that's the emotion. That's what I feel like people are getting, like, so upset because somebody wants to forgive her. That's not something that I necessarily would want to do right away. I don't know if it's something that I would even come to. That's what I don't understand. Like, why are you so upset that he's saying that he can forgive her? Why is everyone so upset about that?
For me, that's not my issue.
Okay, because sounds as if that was the issue today. I'm not saying it's your issue. That was the issue today about how could he forgive her? I couldn't forgive, blah blah blah. It's like, whether he forgives her or not, her sentence is still her sentence. She still is a convicted murderer, and she still has to do that time. So that's where I'm like, why? Where's all this emotion coming from?
I can't
That's
speak
what
to
I
that.
don't get.
I can't speak to that because
No,
that's
it's
not
not
what I'm
gonna be
representing. What I'm
overturned
speaking
because-
to is whether or not if the family were pissed that she did not get enough time.
Well, they aren't. They aren't,
my
though.
anger, the family that we see on
Well,
TV.
it's the father and the brother, like
Right.
that. That's
but what
the
I'm
close
saying,
family.
but what I'm
That's
saying
immediate
is,
family.
okay, but
Right.
right, huh? Yeah, and the sister. But what I'm saying is that whether or not they forgave her or not, or if they said nothing about it, my emotions are still high because I'm upset about the time that she should have gotten that she did not get. That's where my stance
All right.
comes from. Now, I feel a certain, not to be the dead horse, but I feel a certain way. I think the optics, once again, were bad. And I think that black people, when it comes to religion and forgiving, and I will say this, it has its place. There is a redemptive value to it. It is commanded of us to do that, but at the same time, that does not stop it, or it should not hinder justice from being exacted. So, if I forgave you for breaking in my house and you went to court and let's say you killed somebody in my home
Right.
and you broke into my house, I could forgive you, but I'm still upset that if there's a corrupt system and there are motives behind it that you're tied into and you either got over or you didn't get, or clearly there's something behind it that did not give you the full force of the time that you were supposed to spend, I'd be upset with that. That has nothing to do with whether I forgive you or not. It's
That's
apples
true.
and oranges.
Well,
Hey.
do you think that? Well, I guess that's where to me, it seems as if people are equating, and I'm not saying you, but equating, or because he forgave her, that somehow justice wasn't.
No, I
served.
can't speak to that because that's
Okay,
not my
well,
stance.
That, again, well,
that's not
I'm just-
my stance.
I'm that's what I'm reading. That somehow justice wasn't served because he forgave her.
No.
You know what?
To
Okay.
me, I make the argument. I don't know where that came from. People are making more of people. What I'm hearing and what I'm seeing, people are saying justice is not served because the judge, the deputies, her being a policewoman, her being white, and the system itself tried to guard and protect her as much as they could. They could not let her go because, first of all,
How did they try to protect her? Because
this is the argument. This is the argument.
The judge
I'm saying
came
this
down
is the
after the sentence was served.
Okay.
And she also spoke to the family.
Right.
So how did the judge try to protect her?
what I'm
And
saying.
she was fired. She
what-
wasn't a current police
What I'm
officer.
saying is right. Well, what I'm saying is this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that they had to bring her to trial because there was just no way. That was such an egregious act.
Right.
And here's the thing. Damage control was already in play days after she did what she did. The judge, what I'm saying as far as the judge, one can make an argument. I'm not saying that the judge came right out, but one can make an argument based on some reports and her support from law enforcement.
Every judge has
Also-
support from law enforcement.
Also,
right.
also, the optics. That's what I'm focusing on.
Right,
the
but
optics
and I
look
understand it,
bad.
and I agree with
Has
you. I
anyone
don't
ever
think-
seen a deputy? Here you have a black woman combing the hair of this woman.
No, I've never seen that.
I mean,
But that
the
woman
whole
also
thing
didn't-
just looked
wasn't on
like a
that
sham.
jury, right.
And what I'm saying
It didn't
is that,
exactly
and
look
here's
like
here's
that.
the here's the and
I
here's
didn't
the
like it, but I
here's the
didn't
proof
think
in the
so.
pudding
Yeah.
for me. Here's the proof
Yeah.
in the pudding for me. If the roles were reversed, okay, since the law did what it was supposed to do,
Okay.
if the roles were reversed, and he
If it
was
was
the
a-
officer,
Oh, he'd be get 100,000.
and he
years.
walked in her home and shot her, would he get the same? I mean, look, let's be real. I know this
You
is
know
all
what?
theory now,
Let's
but let's be
look
real.
at All right, Kit Wright.
Let's
said
keep
two
that same
things,
energy
right?
with
So now
these things.
she has it 10 years, right? So
8.
Kit Wright, thanks for
8 years.
Thanks for tuning in. They said we hope she does the entire 10 years, and I believe most people are upset she only got 10 years, and there's a young black man who killed a police dog, got 45, right? Terrence Franklin, thanks for tuning in, said he can forgive her all he wants. He wanted more time because of the emails they found. Also, she was racist, and especially she would kill non-white people with her position of a police officer. Two things. Now, she's no longer a police officer. She has to do that time now. What's next? I guess that the thing is, and then we're going to roll into something else, but what's next? So that part is done now. She has to do whatever time that she's going to serve, whether they parole her in a year or whether she has to do the 8.5. You know, now, what are we going to do to put the pressure on law enforcement agencies who have such individuals who put on a uniform every day, who go out here and claim that they're taking care of the communities? What are we going to do now? And past the part where, you know, everybody feels which way they feel, and that's fine. But what are we collectively going to do now to try to work towards changing that narrative that has been there when they call
So the narrative
cops
wasn't
citizens on
changed. The
patrol,
narrative
you know
wasn't
what I mean?
changed with this case.
The narrative, the example started to be made.
Right.
But now, what about all of the ones that have not gotten caught yet, that are still saying, you know what, my job, and it's tricky because sometimes people say, okay, protect and serve. But when you take that oath, it says nothing about protecting anybody in the community. Doesn't say anything about serving anybody in the community. It's saying protect the Constitution of the United States.
Right.
And serving the laws and protecting those laws of whatever state you're in. So depends on how a person looks at it. You know, when you put on a uniform, you can say, you know what, I'm going to try to make this place a little bit better than it already is, like Officer Tommy Norman out there in Arkansas. Very much different than what we see right here. But what do we do collectively to, you know, change or try to effect change, I should say, past, we can have conversation, we'll talk, and then we'll leave, and then nothing happens. So what do we do? How do we get that ball to roll, you know?
Well, for the town, any said town, and you know, let's say that were to happen here in Plainfield or in Newark or wherever, there I don't think there's one answer. There's a number of things that can be done simultaneously.
Right.
As unrealistic as it comes across, nothing will really happen, and we will never get anywhere until there is a general consensus among African Americans to unite and let that take precedence over our differences. You know, when Malcolm left and started the OAAU, I believe it was, he had Muslim Mosque Incorporated, then he had the OAAU. And he said I want to say it was the Ballad or the Bullet, he said, leave your religion in the closet. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, he said, the commonality, the common thread is this. Because basically what he was saying is, all four of us, and I've said this before here, and basically he was saying in the same spirit, we can all, I'm a Hebrew Israelite, you're Christian, somebody could be Muslim, somebody could be Buddhist, but let all four of us stumble into a Klan rally and see if they
None of that matters,
and see
bruh.
if they pick which one. So in that spirit, we should take on how they see us as one in a negative. We should see each other as one in a positive, that listen, we do have differences. We don't live in a vacuum. We have our own thought processes. Nobody's disregarding that. Nobody's shaming to be an individual and different. But as a people, and this is why so many other people beat us in leaps and bounds, because even though they can disagree, they still have, and this is where you take the emotion out. They can take the emotion out and say, hey, you know what? You're a Republican. I'm a Democrat. I think you're a jerk politically, as far as politics go.
Well, how we gonna handle this situation right here?
But the unspoken word is, hey, you know, we got to keep America. You know, so there are things that they rise above these idiosyncrasies. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think to unify, we have to find what common thread we must unify under. And if it's police killings and shootings, because now our life isn't even safe in our own damn home, and somebody can bust in, shoot us, it may go to trial, and they get 5 to 6 or 5 to 10 years, and that's it. That's frightening. And so I think unity, set up common goals, set up agendas in terms of, you know, policing, having neighborhood watches, having, you know, police ourselves, take care of some in-house business in our communities. There are a number of things. And yes, the vote and the politics, and you got to get people out of office and in office. All of that is important on the local level. Mm-hmm. But none of that can come together until the glue is established, which is unity. And I'm telling, and I really don't know.
So we have to come from a place of logic and not emotion.
Exactly.
Yeah,
to unify.
I think we're too emotional.
To unify.
We're too emotional.
Well, you know, but again,
We're
and you
too
know what?
emotional.
I don't run from emotion, because, like I said, Malcolm was emotional, Elijah Muhammad was emotional, Nat Turner was emotional, Martin Luther King was emotional, but they didn't let that hinder, you know, a practical type of methodical thinking. There's nothing wrong with emotion. You use that sometimes as fire in your belly to get things done.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, that's true.
It
So
doesn't
now-
take away from your
I think sometimes
your
it
logic.
does, and I think in this case, to me, all I see is like a lot of emotion. That's really like all I see is a lot of emotion. You have a police officer that went into somebody's home, right? And I'm going to be honest with you. I do think that I don't think she meant to do that. I'm not sure what her deal was. I think she was on something. I don't know what the deal was
drunk.
with her.
She was high.
Yeah. I don't think that it was premeditated. I don't. However, she went into someone's apartment and killed them in their apartment. This is a police officer that was subsequently fired, a police officer that went on trial, a police officer that was convicted of murder, and a police officer that was sentenced to 10 years.
And had she been a black man and had been a white woman, they would have gotten
more. We're not
more.
talking about, here we go with the emotion.
Well,
again.
it's
We're
not emotion. No,
talking-
stop throwing
So-
emotion in it. And you didn't even answer your
Wait,
emotion was
wait,
getting
wait,
to
wait.
you
But
when
you
you
know
didn't
what?
even stay on point to his question.
Here-
I answered this question.
All right,
What should
but
we do? You
I
went back to
I
that.
didn't even.
No,
yeah,
no,
I
no,
did
no,
go
no.
back to that because I don't know.
That's
I'm-
emotions. That's emotion.
No, it's not.
It is. You can't answer. You can't answer the man's question on what should we
I'm
do.
not at that
No,
point to
you know
answer
what?
his question because I really don't know what the answer is. Let me just say that. Fact is, I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer.
And you know what? None
so
of
there's
us,
no need to get
none
emotional
of
about
us
it. I
do.
don't know. But here's the thing.
Hey, listen, I'm claiming emotion.
Okay, fine.
I'm claiming it.
What I'm saying is I'm looking
I'm
at the
reveling in
facts
it.
of the case. The facts are this cop went into someone's apartment, shot and killed him in his apartment. She was subsequently fired.
Right. She was fired.
Right?
She was convicted. She got 10 years.
She was charged
Right.
with murder
Right.
and manslaughter. She was convicted of murder.
Right.
Okay? And she was sentenced to 10 years in prison.
And will do about 8.
Like everybody that's sentenced to anything, nobody does the whole sentence, right? I mean, that
Right,
that,
but
that,
here's
that
but
could
here's the
happen
point.
with
But here's the
anybody,
point.
right?
But here's the
That
point.
could happen with anybody.
Right.
We're talking
But
about.
what
I'm
I'm
sticking
talking
to
about-
the facts. I'm sticking to the facts, Wonder, of this case.
Okay.
Okay.
Nobody's denying that. Nobody's
okay.
saying that's a lie.
right.
When you keep saying I'm sticking to the facts,
Right.
what
And
I'm
to
saying
me,
is
that-
this.
That's what I'm looking
What I'm saying
at.
is this.
She was-
We are
and so
satisfied with a corrupt system because we know good and well
So now-
if the roles were reversed.
What?
If the roles
All right.
were
So
reversed,
now,
we
part of
know.
the-
And here's the thing. Here's a fact. Do we all know people who are in jail on drug charges? that are
We
still
do.
in jail. I have people who I ran with who got locked up in the early 90s who just got out. Okay? So what I'm saying is, but here's what I'm saying. We're saying that, well, the system did what it's supposed to do, but the system itself is corrupt.
Okay,
And it
Wonder,
showed even in the process.
So the
hell with
the
her
next
going through what
question-
she went through.
I don't think
She
it
still
did.
got
That's
off.
what I'm
But you know
saying.
what?
How did she get off?
She still
Wonder?
got because she should
How
have
did she
did
get
more
it?
time.
Wonder.
She should have
was
did more
sentenced to
time.
10 years.
She should have done
Okay,
more
all right,
time.
okay.
Sorry,
So
bro.
next-
Okay,
No, no,
all right.
dude,
But that's
She
what
should have
they-
did more time. That's what
based
I'm
on
upset
emotion,
about.
Based on emotion.
No.
Yeah, based on emotion.
No, what's based on emotion is
Based on emotion. Okay.
if it were reversed. See, here's the thing. When black people get upset, it's emotion. But yet, we still harbor feelings about 9/11. Folks still harbor feelings. You know, Jews still won't buy German-made cars because of the Holocaust. That shit happened, excuse my French.
Okay.
That happened
So,
over
look,
50,
all
60,
right,
70
all right,
years
look.
ago. But yet, when it comes to us, now all of a sudden, well, it's emotion.
All right, so
Listen,
look.
damn right it's emotion.
So now,
Please.
part of the serenity prayer says what? Accept the things you cannot change.
You know, there were
Change the
black
things you
people
can.
on her jury.
And
That's
have the
what I don't
witness-
get. It's
have the
like,
wisdom to know the
don't-
difference,
I'm
right?
not understanding
So
this.
now we know the system is corrupt.
Right.
So
I told
now-
you what the things we can
what
do.
Things we need to do.
Right.
We need to put those into motion, man, because
What do you think we should do?
if
What do you
we
think some of
don't,
the answers are?
at some point we have to sit down. We have to have hard conversations, and it comes to when you take out all of the emotion and you deal with what is.
Mm-hmm.
That is done now. They're not going to go back.
Right.
The worst thing that could happen is they go back and honor her appeal, reduce her time, and she comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Then
That's
she
the
appeals,
worst thing
but
that
she
can
hasn't
happen.
even done that.
Right.
Right.
But
That's
what
why
I'm
I
saying
started
is
out with the appeal
that's the
thing.
worst thing that can
because
happen.
They need something to appeal
But
on.
now-
You can't just retry her. There has to be some evidence in order to even for her to get an appeal. Something that wasn't presented. And her being a racist is not. That's not a crime to be a racist. It's not a crime to send offensive text
But
back
I
and
think
forth. That is not a crime.
It's not a crime at all because
Right,
we all have the
that's
freedom
not a
of speech.
crime.
But I
Right.
think what we
But-
need
but-
to also do
okay.
is we need to not try to put this whole thing on just our backs because there's a whole lot of people from other races, creeds, colors, orientations, and all of that stuff that feel the same way we do.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to start working with,
You think so?
yeah, because you know what? Trying to just shoulder it all by yourself is not working.
I
It's
agree.
not working.
I agree
And-
with that.
and
I
at
agree
some
with
point-
that. That's why I was like,
at
I
some
don't know.
point,
Right.
We gotta really play chess. There's some people that can really assist us with what we need, but we won't talk to them because they don't look like us.
And the,
We gotta move away from that and at least try. If it doesn't work, we'll go back to doing what we're doing.
Right.
But the failure to try something different holds us in a place where we get stuck. And once we get stuck, we get frustrated with each other because we're stuck and we can't get out of this rut. They are not the majority anymore. They used to be,
Yeah.
but they are not anymore. Look at all the things that are happening. And I use the LGBTQI community as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Years ago, they kept all of that stuff. You never knew. You could have talked to a person, worked with them for years, never
Right.
known.
Mm-hmm.
But now, it's out there.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also going to ask for, hey, this is what we don't like. This is what we will accept. This is what we don't accept. This is how we want to be treated. And you know what? People are actually paying attention to what they got to say.
Right.
Why? Because they didn't just go in there by themselves, because traditionally somebody would be like, yeah, here, get out of here. We never talk to y'all.
Mm-hmm.
But now they start to bring other individuals who can actually, they don't have as much skin in the game. They understand the problem and they can relay the problem to others that look like them to listen. Because we can fuss all day. We go on Facebook, we cuss each other out, we can do all that stuff. And at the end of the day, you still got the same issue. So when we wake up tomorrow, it's the
Right.
same thing, but with a different face
Well,
and a different situation.
what I say to
How
that-
do we change? We got to change.
Well,
all
what
of
I
that.
say to that
agree.
is, you know, if people want to help, who are outside of the Now, I will say, me personally, I do. Well, black people first need to clean house. They need to take care of in-house issues. If other people of color would like to join in and help, all well and good. All well and good. But in terms of, I think we have to, because we're the only ones that, when we do attempt to make steps to draw the blinds, galvanize ourselves. What was the FBI? What was his name? You know what I'm talking about. He dressed in women's clothes.
J. Edgar Hoover.
J. Edgar Hoover.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, cross-dresser Hoover.
Yeah, he was. He's on record saying that the main objective during that time was to stop the rise of a black messiah. This came out of this man's mouth. So in other words, what I'm saying is that he saw that there was an uprising that was organized. He saw it through the Panthers. He saw it through other grassroots movements, where you even had Freddie, I forget his name, but he was the leader of the local Black Panther chapter in Chicago, and he was gunned down. Fred Hampton. Mm-hmm. Fred Hampton went up. If you saw the Black Panther documentary on Netflix, he went up into the Appalachian Mountains and reached out to poor white people and said, "Hey, listen, we in the same boat. Economically, this is the common thread. They got y'all looking at us crazy
that's the
based
formula,
on
like that's what
right.
I'm saying. We have to
right.
those that align with us.
What I'm saying though, but what intensified,
numbers, what I'm saying?
What intensified the derision in the Black Panther Party is because he did that. He crossed the line and he began to galvanize people who did not look like us. And that's when the FBI and the COINTELPRO stepped up their efforts and said, "Oh, hell no. We definitely can't have this." So to my point, I'm saying it's effective, but it's not anything new. We've done this before. We've tried this before. And, now I'm not saying we shouldn't try it again, but I'm just saying that it's not authentic.
We've done
it's not authentic.
No, it's not authentic, but we've done everything else before too, and the results vary.
Right.
In some places you have, now they're listening. In other places you have unrest. Mm-hmm. So now we've done those things again. Mm-hmm. Why not try this? We've even done, people will call for boycotts of this, boycotts of that. But we haven't gotten to the people to say, you know what, man?
Yeah.
What do you think about this right here? Oh, I think it's effed up. All right, you know what?
Yeah.
You got a skill set.
We can chew gum and walk at the same time.
We might be able to use you for something.
Yeah,
and it's not using them in a bad way. It's using them to get something productive. On this thing, Terrence Franklin, thanks for tuning in. He said the other problem he has, the problem police officers, Caucasian problem police officers cast a bad shadow of mistrust from most communities of Afro-Americans because of the long history of abuse and in law enforcement, that the law doesn't have the same protections as non-whites. Law enforcement has a difficult enough job as it is. Very true. And we're going to climb that vertical hill. We'll all be dead before it gets to a point, unfortunately, where everyone is on the same level. You know what I mean?
I agree with you. I know, first of all, let me just say I don't have the answer. I don't know what the answer is. But I know we all say, we have to unify. We're not all going to be united. We're not. We've tried that. There's always different factions, even going back to Nat Turner days, going back to that, I believe he met with Frederick Douglass, and Frederick Douglass was like, "No, I'm not. I can't condone this." Okay, Marcus Garvey and Du Bois did not get along. It was two different philosophies, two different ways. I think the ends were I guess the ends were the same, but the mythologies
there
of the
was
way to
different.
get there was different, and maybe the ends weren't always the same. Actually, I don't think the end was the same
And
because
you know what
Garvey was
missing in
preaching
all of
something
those?
different, and Dewey was preaching something
And you
different
know-
as well. So that's why I get a little like jaded with the we got a unit. Like we're not all going to be unified. Even
No,
the
but
majority is not all.
We have
unified.
to do something
You know,
weird that we
but
do in
I
relationships.
don't
and,
know what we can do. What yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. I really don't know.
I might be wrong
I
for saying this,
mean,
but you know what?
I don't really know.
It's almost like in
You
a
know?
relationship, when you're in a relationship with another person. Shout out to my wife,
Mm-hmm.
18 years of running. She keep putting up with it. I don't know why.
Peace, yeah.
But there's a funny thing called compromise.
Yeah.
And everything that you want, you won't always get, and everything
right.
they want.
Exactly.
But
right.
you come across that bridge, you meet in the middle,
right.
and then you do what's best for both of you, and you move forward.
right.
And at some point, I guess we have to.
And
We got to practice on compromise.
so
Well,
what I'm
and that's
looking
with
at
people
with this
who agree with us.
right.
You know, so that we can move collectively. It's not saying that, oh, you couldn't do it, you needed the help of this person or that person.
Right.
No, we're trying to overthrow this right here. So while we're trying to overthrow this, we're going to bring everybody together that hates this.
Right.
And it's more of us than it is you. So now we're going to play this chess. And
Well,
every time
well,
you
his
move,
history has
Yeah.
history bears both of you bears you witness that yes. When I say unify, I'm talking about. First of all, let me be clear. I'm not naive enough to think that all black people. I just got finished complaining
all
that.
black.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I'm
we're
sorry.
not
that-
all gonna right.
Right, I just got finished.
know
right,
we all
right,
black, right?
saying that we are. That's our Achilles heel. But what I am saying is that when I talk about unifying, I'm talking about. Listen, if the Republican Party, if the Black Republican Party of Plainfield, New Jersey, decides to unify for the good of Plainfield, for the true good of Plainfield, and it's a different methodical type of procedure than the African American Democratic Party, and it's both for the good, even though I may not agree with the methods, so be it. It's always been that way. But I will say this, yeah, W.E.B. Du Bois, I think he was the contemporary, that's who you said, Ms. E? Right. But later, when you read in his writings, and I think he actually moved to Africa and died there, where he spent a lot of time there. He later, his philosophy began to meet. Same with Malcolm and Martin. The philosophies began to meet in the middle, where and I'm just confirming what you said about
Right.
compromise.
Right.
And I was gonna say this: we can walk and chew gum at the same time. Out of the mouth of who many people couldn't believe it was coming from, out of the mouth of the late great Dr. Khalid Muhammad. He even said, "Hey, listen, I may not agree with your tactics, but if it's for black liberation, fine. I don't necessarily put my laurels in politics, but if that's how you want to fight it, that's your forte. Fight it in the political realm. Fight it in the legal realm. You want to join the police force and recruit more black people? Fight it that way. We can fight it on all fronts. That's the unification that I'm talking
So now
about.
you're
Right.
attacking
I'm not
it
necessarily
from-
talking
you're
about
attacking
we
it
all
from
have
all
to,
different
Right.
sides.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
That's all.
right, and I agree with that, and I guess that's where, when I'm looking at this case, and yes, I keep going back to this case because I did see progress. No, maybe this is not the sentence that, you know, you would have wanted. Maybe I guess you would have wanted like at least 20 years, but you know, she didn't get that. But she got something. I see I see progress even in the jury. This wasn't an all-white jury. You know, this was a very diverse jury.
Hey, y'all,
even
make
the
sure
number
y'all
of
do that
black
jury duty,
judges
too.
that are in that city. This took place in Dallas. I was reading the makeup of the number of judges that are there, black judges. So it comes from you know, like you said, different avenues. No, was it perfect? Was this one perfect? No, it wasn't perfect, but you know what?
It can
it was good. It was
either
good.
be counterproductive
Right.
or a start for
Right.
something.
It was.
more.
We can say it was a start. Okay. I mean, she was convicted and she's gonna serve some time. She didn't get a slap on the wrist. 10 years is not a slap on the wrist. Yeah, are there drug dealers that went to prison for longer than that? Yeah, and that's why they're sentencing reform, because that's ridiculous. Those drug sentences were draconian. One is apples and one is oranges. Okay,
That's
but
true.
and that's where I'm saying, like, you gotta take the emotion out of it. You know, you can't
Couple-
just throw up
Yeah.
a random
Well-
case and say, well, he
You
got
know
sentenced
what?
to blah blah blah.
Well, it's
All
not
well
random.
and good, all
well,
well and
well,
good,
again,
but we're
It'll
talking
be-
about
it'll
this
be-
case
Well, I have
right
to keep
now.
coming back. I have to
right
keep coming
now,
back
this
to
case.
So-
first of all, let's identify something, okay? Because again, I'm gonna represent the emotional side, because the emotional side is not synonymous with you're not seeing clearly, you're not thinking, you won't get anything done. Like I said, all these heavyweights that we mentioned in history that have moved the needle was predicated and hinged on emotion. So this whole notion of being emotional deflates or takes away the validity of
I'm not saying
what
it
comes
takes
across.
away the validity.
Well,
when
that's
they're
how it
what-
comes across
well,
to me.
when- no,
and I'm
what
not
I'm saying
randomly
is that-
pulling things out
well,
of
you
the
are
air in
if you're
terms of
talking about a
cases
drug case.
because
A drug
because
case
because
that
once
has
again
nothing to do with
once
this.
again the bottom line is we're talking about a justice system. We're talking about a justice system. And here's the thing. You keep saying that, well, we got something, it worked. But here's the question once again. And here's the other piece. Before the sentencing even came up, the lawyers were saying they wanted to see 28 something years. That wasn't out of their mind.
But that's not what the jury came back with. Wonder,
not
you gotta go
arguing
with
that.
what the jury. So
Hold
what
on.
is the problem?
Let me finish my point.
This is
Let me
what
finish
I'm
my
saying.
point, please.
The jury came
Can I finish
back
my
with
point?
this.
Can I finish my point?
Okay.
I'm not arguing with who was responsible for it. What I'm saying, because
well, it sounds like people are.
all right,
as
well,
if
let
the
me
judge-
finish so
as
you
if
won't
the
have
judge
to. Well, so
was
you won't have.
responsible.
Let me finish so you
Go
won't
ahead,
have to
go
go by
ahead.
what it sounds like,
Okay.
and then you can really
Okay,
hear
all
what
right.
I'm saying.
Okay.
What I'm saying is the argument was made that, well, people, the families, they seem fine with it. What I'm saying is that before the sentencing, the family and the lawyers were expecting to see 20 plus years. Now, having said that, they probably came to grips and said, she ain't gonna get that. I'm a forgive her, but she's not gonna get the 20 whatever years. But that's what they wanted to see, which brings me back to my point. In terms of did the forgiving cause her to get 10 years? Absolutely not. Whoever's making that argument, that's absurd.
Right.
I would like to see that pulled up
Right.
too. Whoever's saying that. That's absurd. But I'm just coming back to my point that what's apples and oranges is the forgiving process and the sentencing. And then in reverse, if we're real with ourselves and true with ourselves, if it was reversed and the brother was the officer and she was the person, the victim, we know good and well, in good conscience, that he would get 20 plus years. And to make the argument that it worked, that to me, that's a fallacy. It did not work.
Okay. All right.
It was something. Just give him, give him, put it out there, give him something,
You think
but
that's
she did
what
not.
happened? Do you think that's what happened? You
Absolutely.
think the jury did that? That's what you think?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Black or white.
Okay.
Absolutely. That's
You
my
know what?
stance.
Okay. All right.
Hey, y'all.
Okay.
All right, look, you know what? We could continue this conversation online. A couple of shout outs I want to give out. I know I came in the middle of nothing, right? But Liz Kirby, thanks for watching. Black Ops, I stole your chair. Look what happened.
Peace to Black Ops.
My brother, Gail Graves, thanks for tuning in, bro. Kit Wright, appreciate you. Terrence Franklin, thanks for looking in. James Jim Folk, thanks for tuning in. Yogi, Yolanda Venable, thanks for tuning in. You know what? And the last shout out I got, I got a shout out every time I come on here, right? Hotel Boutique comes out next Friday. Heather Victoria, make sure you get that. That's the Jamla Songbird. Jamla's the squad. We appreciate you and we appreciate your support. Miss E, when do we meet again?
Let's see. I don't even know. I don't have the. Yeah, I know. I don't even. The 17th.
Yeah.
Thursday, October 17th. At let me see something. We want you all to stay tuned to our next show, which is every other Thursday. Our next date is, I didn't even write it down, but it's October 17th.
You got
right?
it.
At 7 p.m.
All right. Any
Thank
shout
you.
outs or anything, Ms. E?
No, I'm in.
All right.
I'm
Wonder,
done.
what you
I'm
got,
done.
bruh?
Hey, listen, I want to start promoting this. I want to get out in front of it early, nice and early. I know Thanksgiving is a little ways off, but yet still it's right around the corner. So if you want to donate anything to a Thanksgiving basket, which is the turkey and the trimmings, please get in touch with me. You can reach out to either Maria, super producer, and she can let me know. I hope you don't mind that. Or you can touch base or leave. Can they leave like a something at an email address that they can
They can actually, if they want to put it on
the page? Oh.
they can do it on the page. They can inbox me.
Yeah.
I'll check it myself.
Okay.
Inbox and let's talk about it. Super producer Maria is one of the administrators on the page, and what we do every year for Thanksgiving is we hand out Thanksgiving baskets. And so if you want to help us out with contributing with that, get in touch with the Let's Talk About It page and administrator. Thank you.
All right. So,
Thank
hey,
you.
y'all, thank
Yeah.
you for joining us this evening, where you can help us lift up our community and voice your opinions. Remember, this one always says when you walk outside your front door, showtime in the world is your stage. Just make sure that people are not watching the rehearsal, all right? So with that being said, shout out to Storm Known in general. Y'all have a good week. We see y'all in 14 days, all right?
All right.
All right, peace.
Bye-bye. Thank